What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Malloy Twins podcast. And this week, I have the absolute pleasure of being joined by someone who I respect probably more than anyone else in the Irish fitness industry. Someone who had a massive impact on me when I was being trained to become a personal trainer. Someone who I've kept in contact with since I met him. And I love his overall philosophy and approach, how he takes the sometimes complex and complicated world of health, fitness, diets, weight loss, and breaks it down into simple, actionable steps that real people can use to get real results. My guest today is Mr. Shane Fallon. He has over 20 years experience in the fitness industry. He's held numerous roles ranging from a personal trainer, a special populations coach, a gym manager, a PT Academy Tutor, which is where I met him, a development coach for all the coaches within FlyFit, a PT Academy owner, which is now what he does in ECA Dublin, and all the rest. He's got well over those 10,000 hours of experience on the gym floor coaching clients, and he's actually had a hand in training and developing over 700 personal trainers throughout his career. So safe to say, when it comes to getting real advice about health and fitness, he is the go-to guy. And he's someone who, as I said, I respect a ton. So there's going to be massive value in this episode, all about how to manage your health and fitness over the Christmas period, so you can still have some fun, enjoy the festivities, but not have to do it at the consequence of your health and fitness results. So it was a great episode. Big thank you again to Shane for taking the time out of his super busy schedule to come and chat to me. And I hope to get tons of value from it too. If you want to follow Shane, find out more about what he does or how to get in touch, you can find him on Instagram at train_with_Shane. That's train with Shane with some underscores in there. And if you want to learn more about how you could get involved in actually making personal training a career for yourself and be coached and developed by Shane to be able to start leading clients in 2025, you can follow and find out more about what he does there at ECA Dublin. That's ECA Dublin on Instagram. All right, let's get into the episode. So Shane, let's say somebody said to you that they wanted to enjoy Christmas guilt-free, so still stay on top of health, fitness, nutrition, but also enjoy themselves over the festive period and be able to take part in whatever festivities might be going on. What would be the first piece of advice or guidance you'd give them on it?
Don't have guilt in rewarding yourself. Okay, so you can still do the things you want. Know that it's festive holidays and that you can let the foot off the gas a little bit and not be too harsh and say, I need to restrict this and I need to restrict that. Maybe look at introducing stuff rather than taking stuff away. So some advice, and like instead of like general or generic advice I'd give to people, I'll do this, do that. Like I'd like to give you some measurable advice for people that maybe help them stay on top of their fitness goals over Christmas. Okay. So instead of restricting so much, it's like maybe add steps. Okay. So say if your average step count is 7,000, maybe add 1,000 to 2,000 steps on top of that. And like just a guide, you could add more, but like the minimum, maybe 1,000. Okay. And then instead of like restricting yourself from all the lovely chocolate and foods that you like, maybe add in a meal of vegetables. And that will give you more satiety, fill you for longer, and then you won't want that craving of the kind of foods that you will be eating over the Christmas. And then the last one would be at the end of the day, know that you are going to go out more. You are going to eat foods that you don't usually eat, and don't be too harsh on yourself. If you're in say a maintenance now and you're coming into Christmas, say, oh, how do I lose fat over Christmas? Don't think like that. Okay. Yeah. Think of at very least, how can I maintain where I'm at and allow myself to have the things that I like to have with the people that I want to share the time with and not restrict myself too much.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You're a wealth of knowledge in all this stuff, Shane, which is why I'm absolutely delighted to have you on today, because I'll have given some context prior to this, but when I was going through my personal trainer degree and getting all the background work done, let's say, to be qualified in that space, what always shone through in you to me was how like you took this weird world of fitness that can be very, make it as complex as you want, and just broke it down into very simple, actionable steps. And even like the answer you gave there of don't focus on just pulling everything away in restriction, actually focus on what you can add in and make things a bit smoother. From your experience, which is like tons of experience with clients, and especially around holiday seasons, Christmas seasons, what are some common places you tend to see them going wrong over this time?
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at it, like, as I said, for the type of, let's talk about an avatar, a type of person that we're talking about here, maybe that they don't really have control of their health and fitness right now. And they're coming into the new year and they're like, hey, I want to get a head start in the new year. And I want to be in a better place coming into January 1st than I am right now. So I'm going to do this, this, and this rolling into Christmas. And they set themselves up with these massive expectations of, hey, I'm going to lose this much weight. I'm going to go to the gym these many times and I'm not doing any of that right now.
Yeah,
And inevitably, it's not going to happen. And what's going to happen when they fail at that? They're going to be super harsh on themselves because they've set out unrealistic expectations for themselves. At the first hurdle, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm a failure." Okay, and I'm talking very generalized here because
yeah,
hopefully people don't think like that, but I know people do. Do you know why? Because I've done it myself. How many times? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll do this, and then like you set out 5 things that are unrealistic, and the first one that you mess up on, you might be doing the other 4 really well, but the first one you messed up on, everything goes downwards. So it's like that analogy of like, if you get a puncture in your in a tire in your car, do you go around and puncture the other 3 wheels, or if your iPhone falls on the ground and you crack your screen, do you just continue to stomp on it? It's like, no,
yeah,
you deal with the mistake and you move forward. So, and that's for someone, I'd say, I suppose, that like doesn't have a good grasp on what they can do in the form of nutrition, health and
okay, yeah,
fitness, and then wants to do massive changes all of a sudden. To those type of people, I would recommend just enjoy your Christmas. Don't go crazy. Try to keep a manage on it. Even if you went over like 10 or 20% than what you usually do in the form of calories in, alcohol
hmm,
intake, lack of sleep, even that isn't that bad for the reward that you're going to get in spending time with family, going out with your friends, and like that psychological release of sharing time with your loved ones. Like, I think that's a nice compromise. It's like, I'll put on a few pounds extra to have a great time over December. And then, hey, when it comes to January, I'm not going to be so harsh on myself, and then I'll get things in order. Um, I'm not
hmm,
sure if that answered the question that you said. I kind of tried to encompass a lot of things there. I think the overarching theme I want to get across with this, right, for people coming into Christmas is enjoy yourself. Okay, like you've worked all year in like holding back nights out and eating certain
yeah,
foods and restricting yourself with food. So allow yourself those things in moderation, or moderation, or like every now and again. Do you know what I mean? But like three
yeah,
or four
yeah,
days in a row of eating rubbish food or drinking alcohol in like copious amounts, like
hmm,
that's
hmm,
not going to be of benefit to you. But you can have one night out of the week where like you let the foot off the gas and enjoy it because your Christmas party's coming up, you're meeting up with friends.
yeah,
So allow yourself for those things. And I do want to touch on something else I didn't mention before, Adam, and like how to help
yeah, yeah,
people manage over the Christmas. And it would be banking calories. So if we talk about nutrition, okay, banking calories is essentially, let me like break it down the simplest forms if I can. Imagine your maintenance calories for yourself would be 2,000 calories per day, okay?
hmm,
And you know, in the week, so 2,000 by 7, you have 14,000 calories, all right,
yeah,
over the week. So if you know you're going out the weekend, instead of doing 2,000 calories every day, what you could do is drop it down 300, so you have 1,700 calories every day leading up to that night out. So 3, 6, 9, 12. So if you do it for 4 days, you have 1,200 calories banked. You could use those 1,200 calories on the day that you know you're going for a meal and you're going for drinks. And over the week, on average, that would essentially balance out. Granted, you don't go ham the next 2 days after that night
yeah,
out
yeah,
and then keep going over, you know. But if you look at it as a weekly intake rather than a daily intake, because you know you can get caught in like a spike and a crash. Oh,
hmm,
I went over this much in this day, so I'll go down double that the next day, and then like you're just yoing up and down. It's like a heartbeat over the week.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whereas like if you know that you're going out on a Saturday night, be smart about the previous days, maybe cut back on the meal or reduce the volume of meals that you have and use those calories that you had for that night out. Does that make sense?
100%, 100%. And I think the way I always used to like think about it for myself as a bank account, it's like, oh, if you have a certain amount of money in your bank account, spend a little bit less each day, you'll have more left at the end of the week to treat yourself. Or if you go into an overdraft every day, you're going to have all sorts of trouble coming your way. So you just have to expect that. But what you mentioned there, Shane, around viewing the calories even on a weekly scale as opposed to just a daily thing, mirrored a lot of a point I think you were making around Christmas and December, managing this time as a whole, which is focus on like the long term and big picture as opposed to just getting caught up in today or like tomorrow or next week. Because like there's a big, 12 months that lie beyond plus December and 11 months in the year, but hopefully you've got a lot longer left in life than just that. And it's like this one month is literally a page in the book. That's it. And so if this page means you gain a couple of pounds, but you make great memories with families, like who really gives a shit? Is it going to matter? Is anyone going to ask, what was your body weight on, the 26th of December, 2024? It's like, I don't think anyone has ever asked me that question. So I think part of it is almost like just managing your own expectations coming into December of what's realistic, what does success in December look like for you? And if that involves having fun and maybe gaining a couple of pounds, then cool, that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to text you on the 26th and ask you what you're weighing now.
Uh, you might get some nice pictures back as well. Guess my weight.
Something you said there at the end as well was all that you said there was fantastic and well put. But the last thing you said is like, what does success look like to you? I think that's a very important thing, right?
Yeah,
Because as coaches, for us, it's like you can give general advice, and even with like the content we put out, okay, we're giving general advice to people. But when you, as a coach, when you work with someone on an individual level, that looks different in the form of the advice that you give. And like going back to what you said, what does success look like to you? And for someone that you work on an individual level, success to them would be, hey, I don't want to gain 10 pounds. So now we have like a floor level and a ceiling level. So 10 pounds is the ceiling. We're definitely not going over that. All right.
yeah,
1 pound is the floor. So you'd be happy like anywhere between here. So if you were to gain 5 pounds over the Christmas, but have an amazing time, that wouldn't be the end of the world, would it? And they'd be like, no, that's actually fine because I plan on going out a lot. It's like, cool, allow yourself that. And if we see it creeping up too far, it's like, hey, we have to check it a little bit and then working with
yeah.
that person on individual level to get what they deem as success.
Beautiful. You mentioned calorie banking. I think that's class. Is there any other of those sort of actionable tips or advice or things you like to keep top of mind for people?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And again, this is just advice. Don't latch on to what I say. Hey,
Yes, yeah.
I'll do that and I'll win because
Shane, you told me to do this. No, it didn't work.
yeah. Like one piece of advice that I gave to 10 people might work for two of those people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then another piece of advice I might give might be for the other two people. Anyways, so calorie banking could be one. Another one would be, and what I found really beneficial for me if I go through stages of trying to drop down is you're familiar with intermittent fasting. Yes.
Yep.
So intermittent fasting, for anyone that doesn't know, would be a period of time where you don't eat and a period of time where you allow yourself to eat. Okay. So imagine it was 16 hours of fasting and then 8 hours of eating. So you have 8 hour window where you can eat your food, and outside of that window, you don't eat food. Okay. Why that could be great for someone, especially someone that might find themselves eating at a particular time of the day. And that could be in the evening time, like myself, where you binge eat, and it's binge eating junk food. So you might see, hey, most of my junk food and snacks and calories that I take in is after 8 o'clock in the evening or 9 o'clock. Why is it 9 o'clock? Because I'm a celebrity's on and I sit down and eat all the junk. You know, and it ties into stuff like that. You
Yeah.
associate, hey, I'm going to sit down and watch this, and then I associate comfort with that environment. And one part of comfort is the food that I eat while I'm watching that. So, but now it's tough to identify that at the start, but if you sit down and actually reflect and be like, hey, where do I eat most of my junk, or what times do I eat it at? It doesn't have to be a certain time you can do intermittent fasting at. You can shift it a little bit. So that's the basis of intermittent fasting. You give yourself windows of eating. Now, I put a little bit of a twist on that, and for me, I just skip breakfast. Okay, so it's not so much intermittent fasting. I'll skip breakfast and I'll push it on to later in the afternoon. A couple of benefits with that for me. So in the morning, I get a large amount of my focus work done. I'm busiest in the morning. So by just having coffee in the morning, I don't feel as drained from having a bigger meal, especially if it was a carb heavy meal. Protein and fat might be a different story, but even just skipping that meal cognitively, I feel I'm in a much better position to make good decisions and focus in that bout of the morning. This works perfectly for me, but I'm just giving you my input from myself and see if it can help anyone else. But then I have to be smart with the next meal. Okay, because if I do skip that meal, I will be a lot more hungry. So I have to choose that meal appropriately and wisely so that I don't overindulge and then get back the food that I essentially missed from the breakfast.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like intermittent fasting explained, but also if it was a case where you feel like you take in a certain amount of calories at a specific meal, look for skipping that meal. I'll add on to that as well. I found this was a great piece of information I found in the past. If there's a certain time of the day where you find that you crave certain foods, okay, whether it's donuts, whether it's chocolate or sweets, something that's not going to be as beneficial for your health and fitness goals. Usually, the people don't know the difference between hunger and cravings, okay? So it's like, hey, I'm hungry and I want this specific food. But usually it could be a craving for that food. So it's almost a psychological response. It's like, hey, I'm hungry, but when I'm hungry at this time, I'll eat a donut.
Yes,
Because the donuts are in the office, but it's really a craving because you've done it so much and it's almost a habit at this stage. So if you identify the time that you always have this particular snack at, what you can do is have a meal an hour or two before that time. And what that will do is satiate you and diminish the hunger. So you know you're not hungry. So when you feel like you want to go for that food, it's like, hey, I'm not actually hungry. Why do I want that food? And then it helps
Okay.
you realize that it's only a craving. And then you might be able to fight the craving because you realize, Jesus, this is just something that I want now, and it's not something that I need because I'm not actually hungry.
Yes.
You know what I
That's
mean?
genius. Yeah, yeah. So if you just manufacture your diet, so I was like, right, I've literally just eaten an hour ago, so that can't be hunger. Because it is tough sometimes to know, is that a craving or is it hunger?
Yeah.
Especially when the donuts are sitting in front. You're like, you can convince yourself of anything. So, yeah, now I'm starving. I haven't eaten in ages
Yeah.
and I worked really hard and it's been a long day and I didn't sleep and like all that stuff. So even just tweaking things and almost like playing little tricks on yourself to help keep you on track can work wonders.
Absolutely. Like it's a constant battle between the body and the mind, man.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the body will just tell you what it wants, but the brain has to agree with what it needs, you know? And especially
Mm,
if you get used to eating junk food all the time, it's like that's just what the body's used to and it just wants it all the time. And it's hard to break that loop. I was at I done a webinar with, I don't want to butcher his name now, but he's a neurologist. And I think it's Brian Pena or Brian Penn.
okay, okay.
I don't want to butcher the reference, but the webinar was on habits and habit forming, okay? Um, and gave a great analogy of the habit loop, okay? So imagine you're in a football field with knee-high grass. It hasn't been cut in a while, and the grass is up to your knees, okay?
Hmm.
Your habit loop is essentially you walking around in a circle, flattening that knee-high grass.
Yeah,
So it's not going to be difficult to walk on flattened grass in a field where the surrounding areas are knee high. But if you want to change your habit loop, you're going to have to walk outside of that flattened grass where you're walking in knee high grass. So what's that going to be like at the start? Well, it's going to be quite challenging, okay, because you're trekking through high grass. But over time, and if you create a new loop, you flatten the grass down a little bit. And then you do another loop, you flatten it even more. And over a week, days or weeks or months, whatever, however long it takes someone to form a new habit, because it's different for everyone. You've now created a new habit loop in flattened grass, which is easy to walk around. But challenging at the start, it just takes time to get that new loop.
yeah, yeah. And I'm sure everyone listening can relate to that. It's like that feeling is it's like pushing a boulder up the hill. That's the old saying, isn't it? It's like it's so
Yeah,
tough to get it going. Once it's moving, it's fine, and then once it's at the top, it's easy to maintain it. But that initial phase, at the very start, it might be okay because it's kind of new and fresh, so there's a burst of like novelty there. But that goes very quickly, and then that's when it gets really challenging. And I suppose something we probably will chat about is like getting into the new year and new year, new me, and all that because I think it's a similar sort of phase that then comes into play at that stage as well.
yeah, yeah. I think changing habits and behaviors. I think Robin Sharma give a great quote in this. It's tough at the start, messy in the middle, but beautiful at the end.
Beautiful. So well, Paul. So well, Paul. So when it comes to this Christmas season and like getting involved in everything, and I'm pretty sure I know what your answer is going to be, but let's say you're working with clients. For anyone listening, they get the benefit of pretending Shane is their coach for these few minutes. Is there anything that you would ever say to a client? Do not do this over Christmas. Like, is there any hard rules you would put into place?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably one that just pops to mind. Don't be too harsh on yourself. So
Okay.
that's the only rule. It's like I'm not telling them, hey, don't do this in the form of fitness. Don't do this in the form of nutrition. Because like, what would you do as a kid if you're told not to do something?
I'm doing
You're doing it.
it. Yeah.
And I think that
Yeah.
that rebellious nature is in all of us. And I'm the exact same as you. If you tell me not to push that button, I'm pushing that button. I need to find out what happens.
Drop
But
kick the poor
also
button.
you,
Yeah.
yeah, but also you plant the seed of, hey, if I tell you not to do something, like don't think of a pink elephant. You heard of this before. What are
Yeah.
you thinking of?
Big elephant.
So like if I tell you don't eat McDonald's over the weekend, you're going to see signs or over the Christmas. You're going
Yeah.
to see
Yeah.
signs for McDonald's everywhere. You're going to see like the golden arches on your phone screensaver that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
You're almost planting like a barrier. Hey, don't do this, and then we're planting a little seed of like I can't, and it could create this want. So I think that's almost a bad approach to tell someone don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. I think the only thing I say don't would be don't be too harsh on yourself. If you make mistakes, just tell me about it and we get back
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
track. So don't be too harsh, but do be transparent and honest with me. So if something happens that maybe you deem was not beneficial to the coaching process or your health and fitness goals, first thing you do is tell me about it, because I can't help you fix what I don't know.
Mm,
So, but if you tell me what happens, we can make a plan of action to counteract that and move forward with it. And I'll give this story as well. And it happened to me, it was so clear from a personal experience. And you hear from everyone as well that they went through the same experience. I don't know if you played competitive football in the
yeah.
past. So for me, it was jujitsu. Okay. I remember when I was starting jujitsu and I was going to training and it was going great. And then maybe I'd miss one session. Okay. And I'd miss two sessions. Before I know, two or three sessions were missed and the details of it are a bit skewed, but I'd missed two or three sessions. And then you're about to go back and you're like, oh, I haven't been in ages though. And it's like, fuck,
Yeah.
it's going to be so tough to go back. And you're hemming and hawing about grabbing your gear to go. And it's like, oh, I'll start next week. I'll go next Monday. And then when it comes Monday, you're making excuses. And then you build up this big story of like, oh, I can't go back. And everyone will say this and everyone will say that. And then the next time you go into, and this was for me, the next time I went training, they were like, hey, he's back. What? And I was happy to see it. And it was
Yeah,
almost a
yeah, yeah.
celebration. But you were almost building up a story in your head that you're going to get beat up or slated or given off to for missing something, you know? So from my experience with that and from past clients, I actually say that in the onboarding or conversations or coaching process throughout is like, listen, don't let that happen. If you mess up on something, if you have to be comfortable enough to be able to talk to me and tell me about it, because I'm not going to bite your head off. I'm literally going to say, cool, we can't do anything about that. You push that behind you. It's what we can do moving forward that we're going to talk about.
I absolutely love it as a principle. Is there anything, because I know, again, from experience working with clients, from myself, from seeing it and listening to it, friends and family, there is like an inherent shame and guilt I think people have around dropping the ball and not getting a workout done or, going over on their calories. And it straight away just turns into bury the head in the sand or just like ignore and move on and like not look at it as an opportunity, let's say, to learn, get feedback, grow. Yeah, better, like that's something that I think has to be developed and worked on. I think having a coach who's able to like reaffirm that message to you and actually open your eyes to that way of looking at things helps so much. Is there anything that you find helpful for people who maybe are in that place of they just constantly beat themselves up or super harsh on themselves, like they're always looking at it from a negative perspective, to help them almost shift how they look at those things?
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one, and like it's going to sound like a plug, but it's going to be so hard to do that on your own, you know?
Yeah.
If you feel like you're that kind of person that just always beats themselves up, I would just look for external help of someone that has an area of helping people with that. Personal trainers and coaches being fantastic resource, but there is other areas and professions out there that can help people with that. It's so hard to do, man, because it's just self-talk, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like if you make a mistake, you're the person that's inside your own head. And if there's a constant negative feedback loop, it doesn't stop. Okay. So like you're going to make a mistake, you're going to beat yourself up, and then you're going to dwell on it. You're going to make another mistake, beat yourself up, and dwell on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas, and if I could give some advice, right, it's like you are in that negative feedback loop. Okay. So try to shift it that next time you make a mistake, ask yourself, why did I make that mistake? And how would I do it differently? And then write out a plan of action of how you would do it differently. And then say, okay, let me make some actionable steps on this for next time. And then you do the actionable steps and something works. Hey, now it's a positive feedback loop. So I've done something,
Mm.
I made a mistake, I've learned from it, and I've changed something, and it actually worked. And maybe I do know what I'm talking about. Maybe I do know how to do this. And just giving yourself some praise and confidence that you do have answers, but you probably never questioned yourself to get the answers. I was having a conversation with one of my coaches even the other day, and just to check in, see how things are going, and everything was positive. But we're having a conversation on probably personal development and self-help books. I am
Okay.
a huge advocate of these, loved them over the
I
years,
know.
and I love reading them. Okay. And it doesn't matter, but it was a long-ended conversation. But the advice I kind of gave him from my point of view is I read so much of those over the years that it gets to a point where it's similar information in different books. You
Yeah.
know, you're trying to get the underlying meaning of it. But what I shifted to maybe a year or two ago was instead of getting books with the information in it, it's getting books with questions in them. So one would be Mark Manson's The Subtle Art of Not Caring. And he has a journal to go with that. So instead of the book, he
Okay.
has a journal to go with it, and he asks you questions based on the chapter. So like, how do you feel about this part of your life? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? What would you do differently? What would you do differently here? So not only are you reading the book, but he's asking you questions that make you think about what you would do and how you would get out of the position that you're in, as well as numerous other journals that actually just ask you discovery questions that kind of get you to make decisions for yourself and also make actionable steps to move forward. So instead of reading information and not doing anything about it, this is like reading information, making a plan of action together, and taking a step forward. I find them
Yes.
massively beneficial. I have a handful of different books that I would recommend, and I can throw it in after the podcast here,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just for reference if you want. But I thought they were fantastic. But I think that approach is brilliant in a sense of get questions instead of information, because that will give you actionable steps to move forward.
Do you ever get any pushback from clients because what you're speaking about there is like people come to a coach personal trainer because it's like my body is the problem, right? It's like I want to change my body. Oh, he's telling me all this stuff that's going to change my mindset. I don't care about that. I just want six pack or I want bicep. You know that way. Like, do you ever get pushback from clients or resistance, let's say, to engage in that sort of things? And then I suppose as a consequence, what's the general like level of results, if any, that you'd see in clients who are willing to engage in that sort of stuff in terms of like the transformation that can happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So the short answer is I don't get much pushback. I think if someone gives you a lot of pushback, let's say a consultation process, for
Yeah, yeah.
example, okay? So if someone wants to sign up to your coaching process and in the consultation, there's a lot of pushing back. Well, I'm not willing to do this. I'm not willing to do that. It kind of comes down to where they're at and ready, willing, and able, and maybe the stages of change. And
Mm,
if there's a lot of resistance on the call, I feel like that person isn't necessarily ready to change. And that
yeah.
would come from, if there was an example I would give you, and I had this conversation with someone in the past, it's they're giving a lot of pushback and a lot of resistance. And you would ask, why are you here? Well, I was told to come here by and insert external body. Do you
Wife,
know?
husband, whoever. Yeah.
Doctor. So if
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
was to come for a medical reason, it's like, oh, I have to lose weight. My doctor told me. It's like, okay, well, do you want to be here? No, it's just something I have to do. Then like I'm almost going to be fighting against that person. And it's not fair on them, and it's not fair on me because they're not in it for the right reason. Now, look, I can have the conversation as best as I can and open up the avenue of, well, look, why are you here? I was told to come here by my doctor. Why did they tell you to come here? Well, my health isn't in a great place, and if I don't change, it's not going to be good for me. Well, do you not value your health? Of course, I value my health. Well, do you value it for yourself or do you value it for other people? What do you mean by other people? Well, do you have a family? Yeah, I have a wife and kids. Well, do you not think it would be important for your kids for you to be in the best health possible so you can live longer and have a better quality of life for them? And they might be like, oh, wow, I never thought of it like that.
Mm,
And it's not because they're not thinking about themselves, it's just that they haven't had that conversation of
yeah,
how
yeah.
their health and wellness can impact others. So that would be a positive conversation in someone that has resistance, where you get them to open up and see why they're doing it. And what I've done there is almost the five whys of coaching or five whys of consultation. So someone might come to you for this reason. Hey, I want to lose some weight. Fantastic. Why do you want to lose some weight? And they give you a reason. Why would that be important? And they give you no. And so what we're trying to do is like an onion. We're trying to peel back the layers, okay, to get down why they really want to change. So it might start off as I want to lose a stone. And after asking a series of questions, we get down to, well, when I was a stone lighter, I was much happier. I was going out more. I was spending time with friends.
Yeah.
But now I'm not doing any of those things. So I feel unhappy, almost depressed. I'm lethargic. I have no energy. I have no sex drive. I can't sleep. I can't do this and this and this. So we went from a simple, hey, I just want to lose a stone, to my life is just completely not where I want it to be. And they're associating with, they were a stone lighter and they were much happier. But all of the different aspects of their life that they were
Yeah.
doing was moving more, eating healthier, drinking less, spending more time with friends and families. But they're not doing any of that over here. So it's actually a lifestyle change that they needed. But they associated that with a stone loss because that's the way they were living when they were a
Yeah.
stone lighter. And that's what the coaching process is, to kind of not tell people this, but like get them to discover it. So all we do is ask questions and see where the information is coming from, see what the reasoning is, and highlight it to them, and not tell them, "Oh, this is actually what you want," because that's not what we do either.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want
Well,
to, I
maybe
want to,
some.
I want to lose a stone. No, what you actually want is to increase your deadlift by 20
Yeah, yeah,
kilos.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Sounds
what you
about
don't
right.
do.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Deadly.
Uh,
I think even that is a simple takeaway for people is if you've got a bit of time over Christmas, like, and it's probably something you mightn't have done before, which is even better. Is like sit down and get a pen and paper and go
oh
through
yeah,
the five whys sort of thing. Even like it's probably much better to do it with someone external who's a bit more objective. But even as a starting point, is like you've got 10 minutes free, you've got a bit of free time and headspace. I'm
yeah.
looking at 2025. I think I'd like to lose weight or get in better shape or whatever. It's like cool. Take a bit of time and ask yourself why, and go a little bit deeper because even me listening to it, I know it's just an example, but someone who comes in and says, I want to lose a stone of body weight versus someone who starts there and leaves the room understanding all these driving factors behind that. It's like if you put them side by side and had to put your money on which one of them is actually going to lose the weight, it's night and day which one I think is more bought in and is going to be able to go through those tough times that are part and
Yeah.
parcel of any sort of change versus the one who's maybe here for kind of like a surface level reason but doesn't really understand why. And it's so easy then when times gets tough or life gets busy and anything else to kind of just sack it off and walk away.
Spot on. Yeah, you're so bang on there, man. Great overview of what I was saying. It's almost the difference with like an external motivator and internal motivator. So the person that wants to lose a stone looks at the scales as an external motivation, whereas like the other conversation is, hey, I want to change my life for the better, so I have better relationships, I have more energy, and I can go out and socialize and be happy and confident doing it. That's an internal motivator that they want to get their control of their life back. Um, there's a kind of a theme I'm getting from yourself is like we want to give people advice here, yeah. So I don't want to just push it to coach it. Go to a
Of course.
coach. So I'll definitely try to apply more actionable things for people to give them some value of what we're doing here, right? So one task I would have done in the past and was really beneficial to me, and just you highlighted this to me was sit down with a piece of paper. This is the toughest thing to do is sit down with a piece of paper and write stuff down, okay? So let's start with what could you do when you sit down with that piece of paper? I want you to write down your vision of where you want to be next year. Now, not starting off like, hey, I want this and I want that, I want this. Write it in the past tense, like, I am this type of person. I am a person who goes
Okay.
to the gym 3 times a week. I am the person who is happy with their body weight at write in X amount of weight. I'm the kind of person that can go on a hike with my family and probably be the fittest person there. And like write down what you actually want from 12 months from now. You start with the end goal in mind. If that's the goal, right? Write down where you are now, what you're actually doing now in comparison to the things that you want. And then what we
Mm.
do is we just have to fill in the gap. So that's what coaching is that we bring you from point A to point B. That's the purpose of a coach. Okay, get results and transform you along the way. So if you have this image in your head, now be realistic as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for? I suppose be ambitious, but
Yes,
be
yeah,
realistic. Okay.
yeah.
So if you're here, sorry, and you want to be here, now what does the process look like to get to there? And let's come right back to where you are now. So if this person goes to the gym 5 days per week, 3 weight training and cardio outside of that, but this person over here is going 0 days per week. Well, then what do we need to do in the first month? Go to the gym once a week. Go to the gym twice a week. Go to the gym 3 times a week. And then we build out these actionable steps that's a little bit past what we're currently doing. So expanding our comfort zone and not jumping way outside of it,
Mm.
you know? So a nice analogy you think of is stretch your comfort zone. Don't jump out of it. Okay.
Yes.
So if you're doing 5,000 steps a day, like you don't double that and do 10,000 steps a day because it's not sustainable. Something you said earlier, like it's not sustainable long term. So instead of doing 5,000 steps a day, we go to 6 or 7,000. Do that for a month. What you're going to do is create small wins, build on those small wins, build on those small wins, and keeping the long picture in mind. You go from like month one, 5,000 steps, but in month 12, you could be up to 15,000 steps consistently. But that doesn't happen straight away. You got to build on it gradually.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think there's so much actionable stuff. I mean, even off the bat, it's like intermittent fasting, that could be great for lots of people. For other people who maybe that's not so great for, calorie banking, starting to look at that. And now is the perfect time to start implementing and building into Christmas and getting that. For people who want to maybe are starting from nothing and want to start into managing their health and fitness better. Cool. Let's not just, jump out of the comfort zone. Let's just start to stretch it. You're not doing any exercise. Cool. Let's just start something that's realistic you're going to hit and build from there. And then taking some time out while you have a bit of downtime to actually map out, where do I want to be? What is success for me in December, in the next 12 months? What's the gap then between where I'm at and where I need to get to? And whether that's a gap that you feel I can do it myself, I need to get the help and support of a coach and a plan, someone to hold me accountable, whatever that may be. But like, they are the foundations of success. And success in this space especially is not, oh, I found this program online, like a free workout, right? Let me jump in and start going to the gym 5 days a week and smashing it. Because like the first week might be okay, but after that, it's a slippery slope back to path of least resistance and where we started. And that's not what anyone wants to see. Do you mind, Shane, if I've popped some a story box on, or a question box on the Instagram story to get some questions in for people? Do you mind if I just throw them at you off the cuff?
Absolutely. Yeah. Class.
Perfect. So first one, and this is actually from a guy who is recently qualified as a coach within the industry. So I wanted to pick your brain on it. And there's probably different paths you could take, but I'll ask the question as he's asked it here. It's, do you think the industry is primarily about results or more about educating people? I suppose for him and for us as coaches, like, do you view your job as getting results or is it educating people?
Great question. Absolutely great question. And I like the premise of why they're asking that. And I can only assume, okay? From what I've seen, I think there's a lot of results based coaches out there. It's like, we just want to get someone in amazing shape for a photo shoot, and use those results maybe to get other clients online. Okay. I would love to think that it's education based, and that's what I base my practice about. And that's what I base my practice with the coaches that I coach about. So I just done a post on this the other day, is educate someone so well that they don't need you, but give them such great results and experience that they'll stay with you long term. Okay. I don't like the idea of just coaching people to get in, and I suppose bodybuilding shape is a very general term, but it's like taking general population and say, hey, we're going to do a photo shoot prep in 24 weeks. We're going to shred you down, get in amazing shape, but then bye-bye. So it's the bye-bye I have a problem with. Getting someone in amazing shape for a photo shoot is fantastic. And it's like, it's photos you can be proud of. It's a shape you can be proud of. But then we have to look at the back end of that, and then making sure that we're not giving bad eating habits or behaviors, relationship with food, and then also relationship with exercise. Okay. I can't give the answer on that. Is it results based or education based? But I can give the answer on what I'd love it to be is both. Okay. So like, let's educate our clients so much that they can make the decisions themselves, and then get them amazing results while doing it. But then when they leave us, they should have an idea of how to get those results on their own. I think that's important. So, and a while back when I done my precision nutrition qualification, so it's a nutrition qualification to be able to coach people through nutrition. What we do is we educate people on the basics of nutrition rather than giving them meal plans. So if I was to give you a meal plan for 12 weeks and say, follow that and you get great results, you'll follow that plan to a T and get great results. But once you finish, you'll be in no better off position than you were before you started.
Back to square one,
Yeah. Whereas if I give you an education course throughout it and say, hey, this is what calories are, this is what calories in, calories out, this is what a surplus and a deficit is, this is what vitamins and minerals are, this is information on food supplementation, and then talking about your diets, talk about intermittent fasting, ketogenic, Atkins, not to say that they're all good aspects of nutrition planning, but to be aware of them and be aware of what to do. So like, and paleo. So these diets get great results in fat loss because most of them take out a full macronutrient. So if you look at the ketogenic diet, we're taking out carbohydrates. So if you have three major macronutrients, protein, carbs, fat, well, the most important, alcohol. If you take protein, carbs, fat, and you take out carbs, well, you have only two macros that you're working with there. So you're going to have a substantial drop in calories. But if you look at Atkins, and I think Atkins is the same. Anyways, I won't butcher it. But if you take out one macronutrient, you're going to have a substantial drop in calories. That's why you get the results. And I'll finish with this because I went on a very big rant there. Sorry. But if you understand the principles, you can apply any method. If you understand one method and don't know the principle, you're stuck to that method.
Yes. That's the man with the hammer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hammer, the whole world is a nail. So
everything's a nail.
Love it. Okay, great. Next one then is from a woman. So very specific to the females of a certain age here, but she's asking, can you ask about how training over different ages changes or should change? For context, I'm a 42-year-old woman.
Fantastic. I would like more context just to say experience wise, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
It changes, it definitely changes over the years, right? But I think we could categorize it as well. Instead of age, you could categorize it as beginner, intermediate, or advanced. Okay, so you've training age and you've actual age.
yes,
So for someone that's maybe older, 60 plus, and hasn't trained ever before, we don't want to rule them out and say, hey, we can't train, you're too far gone. And that's
yeah,
not
you're
my
too old.
words.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's not my
yeah, yeah.
words. I've heard that in numerous people say, I'm
No
too
way.
old now, I can't train. And it's like, oh my God, this is so terrible. So what we can do there is just see where they're at now and just build on a little bit. Minimal effective dose. What can we do and get results from and progress from? So for someone in like their late 60s that's never trained, what we might do is start them off in just some chair squats, okay? And
Yep.
then maybe some suspension rolls, yeah? And then maybe some machine stuff for resistance training. But we could definitely start them. Whereas if you have a 60-year-old that's trained all of their life, they're an Olympic athlete, they might be able to do almost everything that they were in the past, but at a maybe a little bit lower
Yeah,
intensity. So
yeah,
they're not going to be limited in what they can do. So I think training age is a better way of looking at it. Like if you're a beginner when you're young, it's beginner training. When you're a beginner when you're old, it's still beginner training.
yes, yeah.
But everyone can train. It's just a matter of having conversations, and I'd love to talk to this person more and see the context of where she's at and what she wants to do out of it. But she can
Yeah.
absolutely do stuff. It's individual to her lifestyle, her training experience, and what she actually wants moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. I think what success is, again, it comes back to that, isn't it? What you want to achieve, 100%. Final question then. I think this is one that, from my experience when I was coaching clients and seeing it, it was a very common issue that I'd see people run into. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it. What tips do you have for people who struggle to hit their protein target?
Yeah, lovely. Okay. Struggle to hit the protein target. So and again, we got to see where they're at in the form of like, what is their protein target? So like,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
start with this. Okay. So you have a lower and upper end of protein target. So maybe it's 1.5 grams to 2 grams per kilo that you weigh. Okay. So say it's 2 grams per kilo and you're 100 kilos. So that's 200 grams of protein.
Protein, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then I talk to this person and be like, that's your target protein based on your metrics. How much protein do you eat right now? About 30 grams.
Right.
So now the conversation changes, and like what their target protein is, textbook answer wise, is maybe 200 grams, but the person is on 30 grams. So their target protein could be 60 grams, then 100 grams, then 150 grams. Okay.
So like stretching the comfort zone sort of thing again, as
It's the
opposed to
same with
jumping in.
training, man. Everything is similar here. Nutrition, training, habits, and behaviors. It's like if you give me what you want as in your goal, and I go to my textbooks and get the recommendations for each one, if I gave you those answers without getting any information on your previous experience or your history or your current
Hmm.
lifestyle,
Hmm.
it's going to blow you up if you're way off. So
Yeah.
what I have to do is I have to get the recommendations firstly. I have to see where you're at, and then I have to paint the picture of how do we get close to that. Okay. Um, I didn't answer your question. That was politician answer question. Okay. So,
Yeah.
so let me go back to the original one. I'm struggling to get my protein target. How do I get it? Now, to give you some answers in that, like if you go to your Aldi, your Lidl, your Dunn's, Tesco, they have high protein everything. They have protein
Everything. Yeah.
meals. They have protein yogurts. They have protein drinks. Like I don't tell, I'm supplementation is the last thing I'd advise people to do. But if there is a case where you're really struggling to get protein in and you're eating, my first question is, are you eating a lot of whole foods? Are you eating your cheese, your da 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 da? Get it
Hmm.
through natural food first. And if they say yes, then supplementation can be a good avenue because if you have a protein shake with 2 scoops, like that's 40 to 50 grams of protein.
Yeah.
And that will massively bump you up. And just disclaimer, I'm not telling everyone to go and start smashing protein shakes in,
You
but
got
it's
a
a
discount code or that, and Shane? We can
yeah,
get
yeah, yeah, yeah.
there.
Shane Xmas. But that's it is to supplement a diet. So if someone is struggling to get it in, we can supplement that, and then you have your protein milk, your protein yogurts, your fit foods, and then upping your portions of protein per meal and reducing your carbs a little bit because you'll balance out the calories then, and higher protein intake will satiate you for longer. You'll feel fuller for longer, and you won't want to indulge in snacks moving forward. Hopefully that's helped in the actual answer.
Yeah, 100%. So, like, supplementation is always there, but I think there is a tendency just to lean on it as like, okay, that's it. It's almost putting a plaster on the problem, that way. It's
Yeah,
like, okay. And I love that you actually answered it from a starting point of saying, well, firstly, let's just define almost what we're saying. And it's like, I can't hit my protein target. It's like, okay, are we talking about you can't hit a target that may not even really be the target you should be working towards in the
yeah,
first place? Number one. Then if it is the right target, are you saying you're not hitting it by a factor of, I don't know, 20 to 30 grams, or is it like 100 plus grams you're struggling with? Because that's going to be a different answer. So, like, actually defining the situation first, but then some practical advice tips is like,
yeah,
well, assess the diet. Like, are you eating proper foods? If you're living on a diet of, and I'm sure this guy isn't, by the way, but if you're living on a diet of, Cocoa Pops for breakfast, soup and bread for lunch, and then maybe a few biscuits with a cup of tea in the evening. It's like, okay, well, that's going to give us a lot to
yeah.
work with. So, like, having a look at these things, and then when all is said and done, there, it's like, okay, and now supplements can be like the cherry on top of the cake that can just
Yeah.
take us to the finish line there. So, I think it's a great stepwise approach to look at it.
And what I would just to add on to that would be a short answer would be if someone can't hit their target working with me, I've set them too high a target. So like I'll look at where they're at and I'll do something that they can absolutely do. So the question I will be is if I give someone a task to do, okay, I said, how confident out of 10 are you able to, or do you think that you're able to do that? About a 6 or a 7. Cool, it's too high. Bring it back. And I asked them again, how confident do you think you can do this? Out of 10, 10. That's easy. Cool. Let's do that for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Once I've done it for 2 weeks, I'm building confidence and I'm building consistency. And then I expand, then I expand, then I expand. Coaching is a long process because it takes a long time to change habits and behaviors that we spent 20 years building.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the old 7 day shred or 14-day transformation is probably not the right answer for most people.
Damn it.
I know. We're crushing dreams.
Yeah.
For anyone watching, Shane also does, so he's still coaching, takes clients, is amazing at what he does in that space. Something we don't have the time to talk about today, but we're definitely going to get a second episode in to talk about is some other
Lovely.
work Shane does, which is to actually help people get into the fitness industry and coach them to become coaches. Maybe not quite to his level yet, because there's an element of experience that has to come with that, but get to a level where you feel confident, comfortable, and competent going out into the world and actually having those sort of conversations with clients and taking someone, regardless of what stage they're at in their fitness journey, to whatever their goals are. And from my experience, going through courses, being trained as a personal trainer, working with people, like, I couldn't recommend it enough as a career path. But something that always shone through for me, Shane, from literally day one of meeting you, is that you meet some people in life and you're just like, they just love what they do. Like they've got it figured out. I never got the vibe from Shane that he ever came to work. It was almost like he loved coming in here, He loved having these conversations. He loves going home and reading about nutrition. And like, this is just his space, his world, and coaching is a way that he can express himself. And I wanted to ask you, like, it's clearly not just a job. This is a passion. It's something that you love to do. And making that sort of difference in other people's lives seems to give you such a buzz that, lights you up. I'm curious, like, what's the most rewarding part for you in this career?
It's just to know that my acting skills are really good, Adam, because I
You're
absolutely hate
bluffing.
it and I've just
Yeah,
acted
yeah.
the whole time. No, man, no, that's great to hear. Thanks so much. And look, I think at a young age, I realized that you have to pick a career for the rest of your life. And why not pick something that you could see yourself doing and enjoy and smile doing it? So it's funny you say that. So like working with people, meeting people like yourself, earlier on and being like, I can be a seed in this, or as you said, a page in this person's book. And I,
Yeah.
I want to be a really good page so that the rest of the pages are better.
Page three, by the way.
Yeah. No comment. Brilliant. Yeah, I want to be a little part of their story and have a positive impact, and then coming into, and I suppose confidence has helped, like confidence gives confidence. So
Yeah.
when I got into this industry, I was like, I want to know a lot of information to give value to people and give them the right information to help them. So that was, I suppose, the encouragement to go and learn the information,
Yeah.
because I didn't want to come back with false information or information that wasn't valuable to people. So like even for yourself, when we work together, if you ask me a question, I'd be like, hey, great question. I'll go and find out and I'd come back or give you the
Yeah.
resource where I
Yeah.
found it. And through that process, I learned more and more and more and more. And some advice I give to the coaches that I coach or teach at the minute, and always have, is like, don't be afraid to say I don't know. If someone asks you a question, say, hey, that's a great question, and I'll get back to you on it. And then as soon as I leave the
Yeah.
session, I go and research the answer, reputable information, and then come back with that information and give it to the person that asked me. And two things happened there. I've given massive value to this person because I didn't try to blow smoke and give a false
Yes, yeah,
answer. And then I've just upskilled myself. I've
yeah.
learned information on what they've asked me, you know?
Win-win.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sweet, man. I love it. Before we wrap up, Shane, I'm going to give everyone a chance to like shout out, let them know where to find you. I wanted to ask a quick question, just because of the time of year it is, and it's a weird time, but it's a great time. I love Christmas. I want to know for you, what's your favorite like Christmas tradition? Whether it's a personal thing you do, friends, family, that's not fitness or health related. It's probably
Oh,
anti-fitness or health, but it's something that you just love to do.
damn. I don't like we were talking about this, man. This encompasses my life. So I was going to say the Christmas Day swim or the New Year's Day swim. That's something that
Okay.
we've always done that, but that's fitness related. There was a period there. Okay, yeah, not fitness. Bucks Fizz. Bucks Fizz. Early in the day, as a celebration for Christmas, myself, the sisters, and the brother-in-laws would have a wee cheers of Bucks Fizz. That's kind of a tradition because it's such. Like, no, I was going to say something. It's a terrible drink, but it's like just that tradition of. I was going to say it's a shitty drink, but I don't want to get
Yeah.
them in trouble.
Yeah.
It's a bit light, you see. It's light to drink, but we'd have one and a wee toast, and I think that's it. And then games. I'll never forget the year we introduced Pie Face. You know that game, Pie Face,
No.
where you like okay, so you have a lever with cream, and
Okay.
then I think that you're battling each other, hitting a button, and like the levers go down, down, down to two people, and then whoever gets it first, the other person gets pied in the face. So
Smash.
some games like
Class.
that, yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Can I
Sweet, man.
leave? Can I
Yeah.
leave with a bit of information? I suppose one of the kind of overlying theme here is how to help people succeed over Christmas in the form of health and fitness. So if there was some things that you can look at to get the most out of Christmas with your health and fitness while still doing the stuff that you enjoy, would be get your steps in, move a lot. Okay, that can have a massive effect on total daily energy expenditure. Look at your protein targets, keep hitting your protein targets, and have your minimal amount of training sessions that you want to get in. It could be 2 sessions a week, that's better than none. Okay, one is better, two is better than one, three is better than two, and so on. But do what you can, all right? And then drink loads of water. Because you'll be drinking alcohol, keep the water in and keep that topped up. And the more volume of water you drink, the less volume you have for alcohol. Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And last thing then is just enjoy yourself over the Christmas. You know, allow yourself to have the things that you might deem would be not beneficial to your health and fitness goals. But
Hmm.
no, as you said, no, it's a long-term thing. We've 12 months of the year. You're only talking about a week of the 12 months. So go and enjoy yourself and get back on track in the new year.
Beautiful. Shane, where can people find you, follow you, keep up to date with you, get in contact as well if they want to know more?
Yeah, fantastic, man. So two Instagram pages, train with Shane. There's a lot of underscores there, but train underscore with underscore Shane underscore. And then also any personal trainers or coaches looking to get into the industry, it will be ECA Dublin. They're the Instagram pages. And for any information, you can just drop me a cold DM. We can start a conversation. I'll give you value from a conversation alone, even if you don't want to work with me. I'm adamant in every conversation I have with someone, I try to give them something to help them.
Beautiful, beautiful. Top man, Shane, thanks so much for your time, mate. I appreciate it. Look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Have a great Christmas. Thanks for having us, Adam.